knocked off Rutgers 31-7 to open Big Ten play. Jim Harbaugh's returned to the sidelines, his 100th game as on the sidelines for the Michigan football team. He's 75-25 in 100 games. And after a bit of a rocky first quarter, right?
Yeah.
Rutgers scored on its third play of the game, but the Wolverines came storming back. Mikey Sainristil with a pick six in the second half. And in the end, 31-7, a comfortable victory to open Big Ten play. Sam, let's start with the offensive side of the ball. What were your biggest takeaways from the Big House?
Yeah, I think it was a nice bounce back performance by the offense. You start with J.J. McCarthy. Really efficient game, right? You saw him go out there, take what the defense gave him. You saw him check it down a few times. He had a nice back shoulder pass. He was a little errant on some of the outs early in the game. But this is how you want him to play. I think one of the biggest revelations in this contest was how often he used his legs. Yeah. I mean, he pulled like 2 or 3 times on duo plays. It's the first time we saw him do that this year. So I thought it was the kind of a nice performance coming off a rocky one last week. But this, to me, as much as we talk about JJ and his, like, just the offensive line and the running game today, you really felt like it was against a team who has a really solid defense. They were moving the line of scrimmage quite a bit. Like seeing Ladarius Henderson out there again. I thought you really noticed him. And Blake Corum was in the zone. I mean, you could feel Blake kind of getting that lather and being in the rhythm that we're accustomed to seeing him in. So that was good to see. And then as far as receiving standouts, Colston Loveland. You heard Jim talk about him. He talked about him at Media Day, remember?
He has not stopped talking about Colston Loveland, and I think we saw why, right? Is that J.J. McCarthy puts the ball anywhere within 20 feet of Colston Loveland, it feels like sometimes. It's like he's got magnets for hands. He goes up and feels like every week he's made one impressive catch or another. Yeah,
so you want to utilize all your weapons, and I thought he spread the ball around really well. I think early in the game, you could really feel them try to get Donovan involved in the passing game. One time where it was designed to go to him, they used him as a run check, as a run control on one play. He checked it down on another play. So, again, getting all your weapons involved in the passing game. And then we saw Samaj Morgan. He told us a couple weeks ago, he's like, I'm about to get one in. He went out there and got one.
Hey, you know why they call him Jukebox?
Why do they call him Jukebox?
Yeah, because every time he gets the ball in his hand, something's going to happen, right? Hey, first career touchdown, heck of a throw by J.J. McCarthy, right? Hey, you talk about putting together, was it the first couple weeks of the season where it was comparing incompletions to touchdowns? Not quite at that level, right? But it really felt like Michigan opened up the playbook a little bit with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's about getting recalibrated coming off a game like that. And so made a very concerted effort to take what the defense gave him. That's what you want to see, because the teams aren't giving him the shots. I keep getting questions about why aren't we seeing plays over the top. They got receivers Roman can get deep on anyone in the country. Same thing with CJ. These are guys who are going to run 4 or 5 at least. In Cornelius's case, maybe faster. And Roman is a legit 4-3, 4-4 guy. They can get deep, but teams are not giving them that. They'll load the box and they'll play 3 deep behind it. So it's like, what are you going to do in situations like that but take what the defense gives you? And I thought JJ did a really good job of that. He probably point to the incompletions. He had, like I said, he overthrew a couple of outs. He tried a second back shoulder and hit a defender in the back. So he point to those, but that's what you want him to do, right? The standard he set over the first couple of games was he was pinpoint. Yeah. And I think he's working to get back to that. This is a nice step in that direction.
Yeah, and quality of competition has increased significantly as well, right? Rutgers came in. They'd beaten Northwestern. They'd beaten Virginia Tech. So a couple Power 5 teams, certainly not the strongest Power 5 teams, but after the non-conference that Michigan played, Greg Schiano's defenses always play Michigan tough.
Look, they came back here in 21. Yeah, that was a second half game. Yes, they beat the hell out of Cade McNamara in that game, kind of rattled him a little bit. Michigan had the nip tuck down the stretch. They were down at the half last year. So, look, I know people look and they see Rutgers and, Michigan wins going away and like, you kind of poo-poo it as a nothing victory. But this team plays Michigan tough. This was a nice test coming off the Bowling Green game, kind of a nice springboard in the Big Ten play.
Hey, talking about Rutgers playing Michigan tough, and last year where Rutgers was winning at halftime, what happened in the second half was Michael Barrett, pick 6, and a couple other interceptions. This year, another pick six into the hands of Mikey Sainer still. How about his performance, and in particular, because he's the guy who slipped on that third down play, the third play of the game where Rutgers scored that long touchdown. He came back. The defense had a solid performance overall.
Yeah, you know, he's a true, first, he's a difference maker, and he's a true leader. He said, I gave up that touchdown. When really there were multiple factors in that play. Yeah, he slipped, but you kind of felt a little rust for Rod Moore on that play with that miss. I'm sure Rod would tell you, man, it's just, you know, he's coming down and didn't leverage the football great, and the dude cuts inside and it's off to the races. So one really bad play on defense accounted for Rutgers' only points of the game, right? And they really claimed the first couple of series, if you want to really critique them, the first couple of series after that, they didn't key the quarterback well. And so they had to tighten that up. And you could see they made some adjustments on the sidelines, and Wimsatt wasn't able to get loose in the run game anymore. And once you do that, it's a struggle for them. They don't throw the football. I mean, you see them, they probably shooting off fireworks in Piscataway after the first touchdown, because they got a long touch. It was unbelievable.
They shoot off fireworks for everything in Piscataway.
Right. So they got that one off. But man, once Michigan clamped down on QB runs, on those +1 runs where they get their running back involved in the blocking scheme, it was over. It was really, really tough. And then Michigan was able to take. So this is when Mikey's interception happens. It's a nip-tuck game, right? They go tunnel screen on 4th and 2. When Michigan is playing super aggressive on the corner, I don't get the call, but they made them pay. And once that happened, now Rutgers is out of their game plan. They want to try to run the football. They want to keep you off balance, maybe surprise you with a pass. Now when you get down by that much, now you got to throw it. Michigan knows you got to throw it, and it's over for them as far as their game plan is concerned.
Yeah. How about Rutgers coming in with the reigning Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week in Kyle Monangai, right? Excellent running back. He's done a lot of impressive things this year. Michigan comes in down Mason Graham, right? So Kenneth Grant, who, Jim Harbaugh's called him, a freak, a gift from the football gods. But he said to us himself, he's got to work on his stamina. He's a big guy. He's playing more snaps than he's ever played before at this level. Got good news from Jim Harbaugh postgame that Mason Graham's going to be back sooner rather than later. But how about that defensive front stonewalling Rutgers after that first series?
Yeah, it's just Greg Schiano this week said he thought is maybe the best defensive line in the country. You get so wrapped up in the stats, you don't pay as much attention to what they do. They move the line of scrimmage the other direction, and they come at you in waves. And so while you don't want to be down Mason Graham, and it was good to hear Jim confirm that they feel like it'll be another week or so. And knowing Mason, if they didn't say, you got to know the dude. Like Mason, if they didn't say you come back in 2 weeks, he'd be like, hey, club me up. Let me back out on the football field. That's what they're going to do. He's going to go back out there. He's going to have a club. He's going to be able to do his thing. But what we saw the first couple of weeks is they have a rotation, right? So Kenneth Grant is able to slide into the starting lineup. But what about behind Kenneth Grant? We saw Cam Good get a sack last week, and Jim called out Rayshon Benny. And so they got guys. That's the thing. And guys that can push the pocket from the interior. And now we're starting to feel the outside guys a little more. Derek Moore, calling his name every week. He was in the post-game press conference. Josiah Stewart, hearing him more. Braden McGregor. All these guys, you're starting to feel them more. You aren't going to feel them as much in the pass rush in a game like this, especially when you got to be cognizant of the guy getting loose and breaking contain like he did a couple of times. So you can see they were not conservative with their rush, but they were mindful of maintaining their rush lanes so they can keep them corralled, and they did a good job of that.
Hey, Sam, 4-0 is 4-0. I think the most encouraging thing for me to hear in the post-game press conference was guys like Derek Moore, guys like Blake Corum coming in saying, you know what, we knew Rutgers wanted to come in and bully us. We knew that they wanted to come in and try to control the line of scrimmage on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. They wanted to run down the play clock with these new clock rules and diminish the amount of drives. Right. Michigan did not have that many drives in this game, but Michigan, by the end of the game, as they did last year, and good to see that they can do it again, right? They were breaking off bigger runs. They were stuffing the run on the defensive side of the ball. They played their sort of game, and while it was not the prettiest, it got the job done.
Yeah, and you gave them some confidence. You gave Rutgers some confidence coming out of the gate, so they were feeling emboldened about their plan, right? Like, we're really going to be able to go toe-to-toe with these guys, and give them credit. They did for a minute. But Michigan is just so supremely talented compared to them, especially, and that eventually showed up. These guys would have had to play outside of themselves, Rutgers in a good way and Michigan in a bad way, for this to be a different game than it turned out to be. Michigan is who we thought they were, and Rutgers is who we thought they were. And it's great. You know, you talk about, okay, leading into next week, you're going to see a similar style quarterback next week. And, you know, you're going to be in their place. Now, they're going to be real overmatched, but you're going to be juiced up by the home crowd. So you like to have a similar style player to help you get ready for that game, too. No surprises.
Ramping up week by week, right? This is how a season gets made. Michigan has not lost a home Big Ten football game since 2020. Michigan takes care of business at home. Jim Harbaugh's back. Football team is getting healthier. Seems like things are starting to click. Any other last takeaways from the Big House?
Yeah, so my last takeaway is Alejandro just did a great job hosting in Josh Newkirk's place. You know, on the fly, I forgot Josh wasn't going to be here this week. He said, I got you, Sam. I got it. I do this all the time, right? So, by the way, Jim Harbaugh is like, if he's at the airport, he's looking for Alejandro. He's looking for Alejandro.
I gave him rides twice. Right. Well, you know, that's maybe enough.
Right. So, anyway, it was another great takeaway. Be on the lookout for Alejandro post-game breakdown next week live from Lincoln as we lead you into it with our pregame show. So stay tuned. We'll catch you over on the MichiganInsider.com.
All right.